Good morning, participants. Ma'am Savitri, please take it over.
Thank you, sir. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome and thank you, Ganesh, for joining us. Before we begin, let me just give a brief introduction to Ganesh. Ganesh Shankar is the Chief Executive Officer and one of the founders of RFPIO, the industry's leading software for response management using cloud based automation technology. RFPIO fills a critical and often missing part of the sales process and helps organizations increase their sales win rates across the board. Ganesh has a strong background in product management and today leverages that experience to drive excellence for the employees and customers of RFPIO. Recognized as Ernst& Young Entrepreneur of the Year winner, voted top CEO to work for in Portland, top CEO for women, and top CEOs for diversity by Comparably, and included in Portland Business Journal's 40 Under 40. We are excited to have you amidst us, Ganesh. First of all, on my own behalf and on behalf of the entire DJ Me family, let me congratulate you for becoming the Entrepreneur of the Year US 2020. All of us are so proud of you, and you're an inspiration to DJ Millions. At least I have been following your posts this year, and I think this year has been a great year for you and your entire team, in fact. Now, this Entrepreneur of the Year, earlier, all the awards that I just read, that CEO for diversity, then RFPIO was ranked the industry leader, best tech startup, and it was voted as one of the best products for sales, for enterprise, fastest growing product, and was ranked, I think, 14th in the top 100 software products. Just naming a few of the many recognitions and awards that you have received recently. So, wow, we are really thrilled to have you amidst us at this point of time, particularly when you are celebrating your success. So, um,
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
first, tell us, first just tell us how does it feel to be the Entrepreneur of the Year 2020? Does it feel like you have just begun on a challenging journey, an interesting journey, or does it give you the feeling that you have achieved a big milestone? How does it feel?
Yeah, first of all, before I even start, I feel it's pretty honor. I'm honored to have be on this show or talk to the academy team here. I feel like one or the other way, academy has contributed to where I am today. I'm really grateful for what I've learned from the professors and my friends who've been with us with me throughout the year. Still, we are pretty thick friends. A lot of great memories I do have. I don't think this will ever go until I die. So I think I'm very grateful for the academy. To give me an opportunity. I think at that time when I joined the academy, we had the entrance exam that I had to go through. It's not like these common, entrance exam. I think we had to write entrance exam, for academy alone. I had to do a group discussion. It was nerve-wracking to get, into those things. But I hope, at that time you have to get selected. At that time you have to, the academy can say, no, we are not going to select you. They have to select us. So, I felt very fortunate to be selected among, and I think we were about 60 students at that time. I was very fortunate to be one among those things. So again, thank you for having me, and it's a great honor to be here. I am equally thrilled, or even more thrilled, to be attending this show. Thank you so much, madam, and Mr. Narayan sir. I know you've been constantly keeping up the thing. I do follow a lot of the academy news, so great job. All of you are doing a fantastic effort. Now that I do manage people, it's not easy, and now I have a lot more respect than I did for professors and teachers. Basically, it's not an easy thing, especially when you have to manage people. So I really appreciate all your work. So to back to your question, how do I feel getting this award? To be honest, I wasn't expecting this. Again, everybody's going to say this. I'm saying the same thing, but it was a pleasant surprise for me because we started the business only 4.5 years or 5 years before. This award has been recognized by the CEO of Starbucks. The CEO of Starbucks got this award in 1991. There are so many other big leaders have gotten it, and it was a great moment when they announced, okay, I got this award. But a lot of things, these are not simple and interview based award. They go through pretty much everything about the company, about how we have done, the financials. They talk about team building. They talk about diversity, how the community, what kind of contribution as a company, as a person we are doing to the community. So, I really felt honored when they announced it. I wasn't expecting, but when they did, it was kind of I was on the cloud nine when I was being told I'm one of the entrepreneurs of the year for the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, a lot of things have gone into play, not just me. Entrepreneur does make one person, but for us, it's the entire team behind me from the very beginning onwards. How we built the company, how we interacted with the customer, how we service customer. All those played a major role in building a company like this, and that's what probably got this award. It's just not me. It's a lot of people's effort has gone behind the scenes.
So, I mean, it shows that if you take some big bets, probably you will win. Yeah. Okay, just for the sake of the attendees, can you just give us a window seat on your journey before you set out on this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. So for the most part, right, when I'm part of 2003, 2005 DJ MBA batch out. I passed out in 2005. So I did my undergraduation as BSc Computer Science. That's when I realized computer technology was my undergrad. That's when I realized that was not my cup of tea. Yes, I'm running a software company today, but software engineering was not my forte. I didn't feel comfortable, sitting in front of a computer writing code. That's not me. So back in 2003, when I passed out of my undergraduation, I had to make a choice between MCA and MBA, and I decided to pursue MBA. I felt, I did have some talking capability. I thought, okay, I'll be able to sell something. That's basically one line, criteria for me. Okay, do I want to sit in front of a computer or do I want to talk to people? That made it very clear. Okay, I want to pursue MBA. So I chose MBA, and then after that, in 2005, I was selected in campus. We had a company called India Bulls come to campus in 2005. I got selected as a relationship manager. The title is pretty big, relationship manager, but at the end of the day, what it does is you have to go through street by street in near Araspuram and Upnakara Street, basically drop your business cards to make those small traders invest in stock market. That was what I was doing, basically making people to trade in the stock market. That was my role, first job. I got, I think it was 12,000 rupees was my first salary, which I got back in 2005. So then I was there for 2 years, couple of years I was there, and then I was wanting to further go beyond what I can do. In this case, I felt I got an opportunity to work for another software broker in Chennai. So I worked for a company called Navia Markets. They are part of, for most of you may not even know this company called SPIC. Some of professors may know this company called SPIC, AC Mutaya's, fertilizer group. They had a stock broking company. So I joined them as a sales manager. I was managing, Tamil Nadu as a sales manager back in 2008. So I was handling the entire. Then I got promoted to manage the entire South India. I was. Then that's when I saw in 2009 the market crash. All those things came in. I've literally seen people cry in front of me, during the market crashes. That's when I said, okay, this is not more what I want to do. I want to do something, far more innovative, not get people's money rather than try to be innovative, try to be intellectual. So that's when I joined another startup back in Chennai, which was a technology startup. So I joined as a business analyst. So there are a few couple of decisions that I made. I feel like worked out in my favor. Like you said, ma'am, there are a couple of big bets I took on that. Though I was managing the entire South India, there was a very good pay. There was very good commission. There was very good I was basically I was a manager. But I decided that's not what I want to do. I scaled down actually. I came down on salary. I came down on profile. I went to a technology company. That's one of, if I look back, it was on a hindsight, yes, I did, but these are some of the decisions that I felt I got to do. And I'm really, really, thankful that I made, uh, I feel like there are three critical decisions that I made in my life throughout my career. One is when I switched from India Bulls and I had an offer from Kotak Mahindra Bank and then and Navya Market. So Kotak Mahindra Bank was in Tirupur. I was getting a bank job, and this other option was to move to Chennai. So at that time, the first decision I made was I want to move to Chennai, to metro city. I want to explore what that is. Being stuck in a smaller Tirupur, or when I say at that time it was a small. That's the first branch they were opening. So I felt like it's going to limit my things. So I made that decision to move to Chennai, and I worked there for 3 years. And the second decision I made was, okay, it's okay to cut down my salary, and because I thought this is going to be my long term goal, and this is where I want to go, and I want to be intellectually challenged. I felt technology is the place, and I came down as a business analyst, and I started down there, and that's my second important decision that I made. The third one was again coming back to Coimbatore was another important decision. I came back to Coimbatore because for obvious reasons, because my family was there, my mom and dad, and then my girlfriend, my wife, was also in Coimbatore. So it kind of, I'm sure you all know that at the teenage age, I want to go back, be with my, friends and family, all those factors. But even in that situation, I was very particular about not to make a hasty decision. I picked one company, that I work for called Xtero. And as a technology, if you're a developer, there are a lot of options in Coimbatore at that time. You can join CTS. There was Bosch. There are a lot of options, but I did not have an engineering background. I did not know how to code. So only option is to go into a functional business analyst role. And there was not a lot of opportunities out there. This one thing came, it was like, for me, it is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. I remember almost preparing like a book like this to that company, how I wanted, because I did not want to take a chance. I don't think I even studied that much when I did my MBA. I prepared myself because I felt this is the only option. If I lose it, I will not get it. So finally I got the job, and I a lot of factors also played. Luck, people mentored me at that front. I got the job, and I was working there in Coimbatore for another software company, which is the best thing that I could ask for, because I'm a business analyst, I'm working in a technology company, I'm staying close with my family. That's the best thing that I could ask for. Then opportunity came. I was handling the entire product. Then they asked me to move to the US to manage the entire product line. I moved to US in 2011, and then I had worked there for 4 years until 2015, and then I started my company. So I'll come to the company aspect later, but that's the journey, how from where I did my undergrad to how I ended up in the US. That's kind of a journey that I had.
Thank you, Ganesh, for summing it up so beautifully. But then, Ganesh, I don't think you had a business background in the family. So, how did you decide on taking a different path? Because there's always this dilemma among people who are graduating about whether to take up a job or to become an entrepreneur right away, or to work for a few years and then become an entrepreneur. what had you planned after your graduation? In a sense, did you have plans of becoming an entrepreneur back then? Or how did you get that mindset to get into entrepreneurship?
I think I come from a family, where pretty much everybody is a working class. In fact, my grandmother used to say, if most of you, I hope understand Tamil, even still at that time, she said, காசா இருந்தாலும் government காசா தான் இருக்கணும். So basically, even if it is quarter dollar, it has to come from the government. That's the mindset we had. My dad was, working for a state government agri department. My dad's elder brother was a colonel, army officer. He was a colonel, and my dad's younger brother was working at a different thing. So basically, they didn't want to take a risk. But my dad, for some reason, he always had the passion of becoming a film distributor, and he chose that. But his mom, my grandmother, didn't allow him to pursue that. Otherwise, he always says, if my grandmother didn't push him on that direction, probably he would have become a producer or a distributor for that matter. So he always says that. Maybe that something got stuck in me. Again, looking back from my childhood onwards, I've done something or the other. It is not an I'll be lying if I'm saying, okay, I was very passionate about pursuing entrepreneurship from the childhood. No, but some force was always there, from very beginning. Even when I was very young, when I was 6th or 7th grade, I've sold gooseberries, and from my grandmother's home, I've been to my local areas, and I've sold gooseberries in a cycle. And when I was 11th or 12th standard, I put in some money for my friends who bought some electronic stuff, and they sold it. And my undergraduation, we did some auto parts thing. Again, this all, if I recollect, all these are vividly connecting dots. But that's how I was. I was always onto something selling. I was always onto something doing. But I didn't quite connect the dots until I started RFPIO. But it was not a decision. I was very clear not to start a company right after my graduation. I did want to get some experience. I did want to see how the industry reacts. What are the nuances that are there? I'll talk about that a little bit. But these are some of the things if I look back, it kind of prompted me. And end of the day, I was passionate about doing something new, and then that kind of made me pursue this entrepreneurship.
I'm sure people will be able to relate to what you said, because when you are pursuing your MBA, generally you're confused about this particular decision, what you need to do. Okay, but then now you are in a new pinnacle, but how difficult or how challenging was it for you to start this company and to bring it to where it is today? Because I think the first step is generally very hard. You have self-doubts, you have to leave your job, and so what did it take for you to reach where you are today?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I feel like there are a lot of elements have gone into things. So one is obviously my family, my wife, who supported that decision from the very beginning. If she had not supported that it would not be possible. We had when I started my company, my second daughter was a year and a half, and my first daughter was 3.5 years. So two young kids. I did not have a paycheck. When I came into this, when I did not have a paycheck, and in fact, I'm an immigrant sitting on a completely different country. A lot of uncertainties were there, but couple of things played in my favor. Again, I'm not that much of a risk taker. I'm not didn't jump on it. For obvious reasons, because I had family. I did not blindly go pursue this. Right. I did not do that. Some of these gut feeling or instinct also came from the team. Kind of came together to get this right. And the product idea that we've generated it. I'm sure for the most part, it may resonate with you what I'm going to say now. If you are using mobile phones these days, if you are seeing Swiggy, if you are seeing Uber, a lot of things, what happens is as a consumer, right? If you're seeing consumer products, Swiggy, you're ordering food, somebody delivering. So you may be thinking a different idea. What happens is Especially what I've seen, a lot of people think their problem is everybody's problem when it comes to B2C. B2C, you may be having, as a consumer, you have a problem. That means you would assume, that's why there are a lot of app development happens. There are a lot of apps that people develop. Not everybody can become another WhatsApp. It's very rare to become, another B2C product like that, because you need a huge volume of adoption, huge volume of people using downloading the app, being on the platform. That it needs a scaling to do some meaningful business out of that. Whereas what we chose is what we call as a B2B business, right? B2B is tough to crack, but once you crack it, if you find what they call it as product market fit, that paves the path to go after a particular segment or a particular vertical or a particular market. For us, I jokingly say this to my team. We don't have RFPIO, especially when my co-founders and I started this company. We don't have a cool garage story like all these garage stories that we read in like Apple, HP, Google. These people came under a garage, worked on an idea, or even Facebook for that matter, or Snapchat, worked out of a hostel or a dorm room, out of college. That's not our story at all. We did not had those kind of background. It is a pure story of people who've been on the trenches, who have experienced the problem that we are solving today. If this product RFPIO exists back when I was working, I would have been a perfect user for this product, and my co-founders would have been a perfect users for this product. And that level of validation is much more impactful when it comes to B2B. If you know the problem, if you have the same, if you face a particular problem, it is more likely other business enterprise will have the same problem. Whereas in B2C, if you personally face a problem, it doesn't mean others will have the same problem similar to you, because of all the different economic elements that goes into play, all the different socioeconomic condition that happens. A lot of there is no two individuals are same. Even within a household, there may not be the same thing. Whereas businesses are not like that. Yes, there is significant difference in business, but overall the workflows and processes are same. Once you identify there's a certain use case, if you hone in, if you go detail, you will be able to get that. For us, when we started, we knew for sure, because we were looking for a product like us, just to give you what product we solve today, what the problem we solve. I'm sure most of you are aware of this term called tender. In India, they call it as tender, right? If you are a contractor, if you're bidding for a road contract with city corporation, Coimbatore Corporation, you're bidding for a contract. And a lot of time what happens is, in a tender, you'll only give pricing. Okay, to put say, 3 kilometers of a road, you ask the government for say, 50 lakh rupees. That's how. But what happens is they will ask you more, what kind of material you're using, what's your experience, what is your background, all these things. Pricing is one element, right? But think of this way, a contractor, large scale contractor, I'm not talking about a small one-person shop. I'm talking about like a DHL, or, I'm just picking up a bigger corporations who can do that. The salesperson will be getting the tender details. When that comes in, he or she may not complete the entire tender. They need help from their internal team. They need help from their construction team. They need help from their finance team to fill those information bits and pieces, because they have asked for so many details. Similarly, in an enterprise, when a big bank like US Bank, who's our customer, or Microsoft, who's also a customer, when they're trying to buy something, they will issue what we call as an RFP. RFP stands for request for proposal. So request for proposal means, these big gigantic companies, they send tenders and ask vendors to bid for that. Say, for example, if US Bank is wanting to, implement an ERP system, they may send out a tender, and companies like SAP, Oracle may be bidding for that. And that's where we come into play. Our product will be used by SAP. Our product will be used by Oracle, because SAP, the salesperson who is talking to US Bank, gets a tender. It's like a document. Imagine like it is a document with 100 questions. It's basically a questionnaire. The bank will issue a questionnaire asking the vendors to complete that questionnaire. And the salesperson who gets the questionnaire, he cannot answer everything. He or she needs help from what we call as quote unquote subject matter expert. If you're if you're a finance person, I need financial details. The finance person comes in. Legal details need to be coming from the legal person. Those are people who are subject matter experts. Our application helps the teams, internal teams, to collaborate and complete this 100 questions. 10 question can go to legal, 15 question can go to finance, 100, another 35 question can go to sales. All those questions will be completed by different team members. That's what we do. That's where we come into play. We help our customers internally collaborate with their internal stakeholders to complete this questionnaire. And when they are done, they can simply export out of our application, get in a Word or Excel document, and they can submit it back to the customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, here's all the details that you asked for. And the customer gets it, and they get from multiple vendors, they evaluate, and they chose one. That's the whole idea of what we solve. And that's where we come into play. And I'm simplifying it, but there are a lot of nuances that goes into this use case, right? This is exactly what I was doing. When I was working, I was the quote unquote subject matter expert. When my sales team, they were selling our product to bigger corporations like American Express, the sales team did not know about the product. They did not know about the roadmap of the technology product that we were developing. So they would say, hey, Ganesh, can you fill this 15 question? American Express is asking this 15 question about the product roadmap. So I fill in. It was constant ask from my sales team to fill in those questionnaires. So that's when it kind of prompted us to look for a solution ourselves. We did not find any, and my co-founders and I decided, okay, there is no product in the market that meets the need. So we decided to do it on our own. Again, that's when we knew there is a product market, and there is a market for this, and there is no enough product. We did enough, research on that. On top of it, because how we have dedicatedly worked before, a couple of individuals whom we can call it as high net worth individuals, when we approached them, because we did not have any money, to start a company, it needs a lot of money to start. At that time, we approached a couple of, high net worth individuals whom we know, who have seen us working on the grounds, how dedicated we are, how effectively we can deliver. Without hesitation, they said, yeah, they will be able to invest, money in our business to start, even from a very scratch, to start the company, to pay the legal fee to start a company. They helped us. I did not have that much money. None of three co-founders are, yes, we were in the US, but given the stage that I was in with my family, not a lot of savings I had. So this is where I kind of, somebody helped us. And again, this all goes back to how we've dedicatedly worked, not just me, my team. They saw the entire team who was behind this. There were about 4 of us, and they saw this. Okay, this team they said, okay, it's a great team. They can deliver what they're promising, and we did deliver what they asked for. And it kind of started off with just a $10,000 investment. The person who invested gave us a $10,000, but they ended up investing in $500,000 end of the day. So basically, where it started with, if I were to translate that at that time, it was started at 6 lakhs rupees. That's when it started. But end of the day, after almost a year, they invested almost 3 crores in our business at that time. So that kind of gave us the fuel for the business. And again, they did not give us this much of money right out of the bat. It was like a milestone. They said, okay, if you do this, we will release this payment. If you do this, we will release this payment. So we hit pretty much every milestone they asked for. We ran faster than we could, and I think we were able to make it possible. So they saw the energy and the fire that we had, and they invested in our business very, at the very early stage. And then later on, a couple of years down the line, we got almost for Indian rupees, we almost got 200 crores from a private equity firm back in 2018. It was about $25 million. We got money, and so we invested in the business. So we now have over almost 1,000 customers. I was talking to Mr. Noran, and if you open the global map and you can put the finger, except if you are putting your finger in Antarctica or Greenwich, you will have a user coming into RFPIO. We have that much of users today all over the world. So we have an office in Coimbatore, and we have an office, we now have remote offices in the US. We are almost about 170 employees. It's been for 4.5 years now. So 170 plus employees. We are still growing despite this pandemic. When a lot of companies had to lay off, cut down salaries, we are still hiring. In fact, beginning of this year, we had about 100 employees. Now we have 170 plus. We have hired almost 70 employees just in this pandemic. It's almost 60% of our workforce has been hired in 2020 compared to 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. 4 years compared to that, we have hired more this year. And obviously, we did benefit out of pandemic because, obviously we are not Zoom, what we are using today. It went crazy, I think, but we are not Zoom, but our product became a mission critical platform, and you're especially working on a remote environment to submit those bids and tenders. That's where we are at today. I know it's a long-winded answer, but I hope that gives you a perspective.
So it's good to note that your customers are using your platform more during this pandemic. And Ganesh, I just picked one question from what you were telling. Now, you and your co-founders all are Indians. You're doing business in the US. So has that impacted or affected the way you do business?
No, not at all. I don't think so. It impacted in any way, shape, or form. I think a lot of things plays. Again, product. The use case that we solve is a significant problem for a lot of enterprises. In fact, when we were, the reason why we did this big $200 million or $225 million round is, I think it was either Microsoft or Visa. We were trying to get a deal from them. They were asking, "Hey, are you guys really a company? Are you guys going to exist for the next few years?" Because we were very young. It was only a couple of years into business. They had all these questions. How are you capable of supporting a massive company like Microsoft, right? They were asking us, and that kind of made us go for getting more funding round to just have a big banner behind us saying, okay, this is not a small company. We have investors who are invested in that. But when we did the round, investors didn't bother that we are immigrants or we are Indians. Customers didn't bother. Employees didn't bother. So I think we kind of thrive on these kind of situations. I think we one of the reasons even for those award, I was named as CEO who supports diversity. Being an immigrant here, being a person of color, we want to support that, and we always have that thinking behind us to support those kind of, and we've been supported. Again, it's more of a pay it forward. I don't think so. I personally got affected by any of those impacts. So far, all the experience that I had has been very positive experience. Even in fact, even if I have to say, I had a bad experience back home. Obviously, my not to get into too much of details. Obviously, my marriage was a love marriage. Where my wife and I are from a different caste. The issue that we faced, being in India, being locally, it wasn't the case at all. After again, we are now all settled, but I think that's the worst part that I faced in my life. And when it comes to, you call this, some sort of race play into play a role in your life. That's the only experience. Other than that, pretty much I had a smooth ride.
Okay, when we were speaking, some big names came up as your customers. So how did you build that customer base? Tell us something about how you got your first customer.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, the first customer was through my contacts, when I was, working for other companies, I worked with many different salespeople and people who have moved on from those companies, joined other companies. When I quit my job and started this company, I've reached out to them and say, hey, we are developing a product. We know you can use it. Can you take a look at it? And basically, all I asked for is a 15-minute time frame. 15 minutes is all I need. I've reached out to them, and we did some beta customers at that time. Initially, we had about 5 or 6. What happened is, there was local article. That's the beauty of being in Portland. I think Portland, where the city I live, it's a pretty good city where people help each other a lot. Now, what happened is, one of my contacts, she is now our VP of marketing. She introduced me to a local association. It's called Technology Association of Oregon. That I met the president of that association. Basically, they are in a non-profit tech association in Oregon. And the president of TA, we call it TAO stands for Technology Association of Oregon. The president wrote a small article about us on the local business journal. After reading that, one of the local companies, they literally called us on the phone and on my cell phone and said, hey, we are a local company. I think we can use this product. We are already using a similar product, which was not working out for us. We are more than happy to give it a shot. And, it was actually, there's a fancy number. I still remember it was June 16, 2016 is when we signed up the first customer. 16 is my first customer. I was literally sitting in front of my computer because at that time, we were small. I think it was $2,000 or something. Somebody, that was our first payment. But I was just literally sitting in front of my computer for them to process the credit card. I was telling my co-founders, okay, it's happening. I was just literally sitting, and the person made the payment, and it was one of the joyous moments that we had, the first customer. And similarly, when we signed up, I think it was LinkedIn, when we signed up, this big enterprise customer was a bigger thing, and when we hired our first employee outside of our core team, it was another joyful moment. Somebody trusting us to put their career. It was another major milestone. Every milestone, the first one is critical. When the investor said, okay, they're going to give the first check of $10,000, that was a massive moment for us, right? Today we have almost 1,000 customers. I'm not talking about small companies. Today, when I say 1,000 customers, out of 1,000, there are about 15 of Fortune 100 companies are already a customer for Fortune 100 companies. Almost 50 of Fortune 1,000 companies are customer of ours. So it's, we are at a pretty massive customer base today, but those are first employees, first customer, first check, first payment. It's all something, we really cherished, and I still have those moments in my thing. Again, I feel like this thing all happened because of the network that we've generated. Be it, we were not shy. I was not shy to ask for help. I was not, I kept contacts with pretty much everybody. Otherwise I would not have been. It's not possible for me to reach out to them. Even the investor who invested the money. We went there and we spoke to them. If we were shy not to ask for help, we would not be here. And I think, network, if anybody is aspiring to become an entrepreneur, right now, my number one advice would be network. With all good intention. Don't be selfish. Don't do something, with all good intention. Try to seek out help, and network with people, understand what they're trying to solve, and then, you don't burn the bridge, especially if you're working in an enterprise or a corporate. Don't burn the bridge. Don't cut short on something. When I say don't burn the bridge, don't leave any sour taste. You don't know. Someday, someplace, someone you may need their help. So when you're working, especially just keep that in mind. Other element I would say is, if anybody is aspiring, this is really true. When somebody is aspiring to become an entrepreneur, is ability to ask questions. Don't worry about. Think of this way, right? this is true. In fact, this is something I personally noticed. I can challenge anybody in this call. If you look in your personal life or even in your professional life, as you all are student, right? Now when don't get me wrong, I'm going to put some time on you. When a professor in front of a 30-member class, they talk 1 hour session. They take 1 hour session. The human brain can take only a few minutes of those content into brain. But think of the other scenario where you have asked a question and somebody answered that question. You will never forget in your life. I don't, I was 2 years for study. I don't remember all the material but I still remember those questions that I asked somebody, and somebody answered me that question. It is always in my mind. Keep that in mind. Have the intent to ask question. Nothing is silly. Nothing is trivial. Ask the question at the right time. Questioning ability is cognitive, it's intellectual. You will never forget things. That is something I would highly encourage people to ask those questions. Questioning is a key element. Networking is key, and be selfless. If you look at the way we formed the company, all of us, formed this because we had trust between each other. If we had our own doubts, okay, Ganesh is a political person. If Sundar is political, Shankar is political, Manish is political, we would not have joined hands. You have your own doubts. That itself tells you these guys had a trust, because we all worked. We are not childhood friends. We're not relatives. We're not brothers. There is now no connection between all of us. It was we all worked at a company. That's all we're not even close friends. All are at a different, even generations are different. Sundar and Shankar, my co-founders, are at least 10 years, older than I am, and that's how. But the fact that we created that chemistry is because purely based on trust and based on goodwill that we have put in. So those are key elements of an entrepreneur. If somebody is aspiring to become, to become an entrepreneur, these are, I would say, key elements. Networking, asking the right question, being a trustworthy person is very key. Yeah, hope that answers your question, ma'am.
Yes. I mean, that is what I want you to tell the students, because when it comes from the horse's mouth, it's generally taken more positively than we tell. So I'm sure students would have understood the importance of questioning and the power of networking and where it can take somebody. And so you had this first advantage because you came up with an innovative product. But then now, how crowded is this market after 4-5 years? Now, how crowded is this market?
No, obviously we are not the first company to come to this space. When I said, when we were looking at a product like this, there was not enough product. There were products, it was all, I would call it as a legacy product. In fact, in a very simplistic way, we are the youngest kid in the block. All the other players in the space are at least 2 years ahead of us. The other player was in the space for 25 years. They did not innovate. They were a lot of these companies today. Some of those companies don't even exist today. They did not innovate. They did not see how to automate this process. They were still creating a lot of manual work. But obviously today, there is always a copycat. There is always, when you come up with completely, new innovation, right, there's always a copycat. But that is also, imitation is the best way to flattening, right? People imitate you, but in this modern world, you cannot get carried away. That's another piece of advice I would say. If somebody has a great idea, don't be afraid to share that idea and validate it with others. It is not, don't worry. That is one thing, one of our investors or one of my mentors taught me this one. They said, okay, if you have an idea, share it, validate it, so that you can see that. Because a lot of time what happens is we have this idea and if we think, okay, if we share it, are they going to copy it? Are they going to implement it? Are they going to do their own? It is not easy. It's not everybody's cup of tea to start a business. It's not everybody's passion to do something. Idea generation is the easiest thing that can happen, but execution is not everybody's cup of tea. It's not possible. So don't worry about you having an idea, and obviously you be your own judge. be selective in whom you're sharing, but don't try to keep it within yourself. Try to share. That's what we did. When we launched the product, even before launching, right? All we had is a PowerPoint deck of some screens that I put on a table. This is how the flow is. We started sharing with people whom we wanted to validate this before even we start writing the first line of code. Try to share, try to validate that with others. And again, like I said, it's not easy. Not everybody can do this. If you are very serious about starting a business, and if you're very serious about doing something on your own, sharing that with somebody else is not going to create a problem. But eventually, when you're successful, there's always going to be a copycat, especially in this world. We call this, you introduce us, ma'am, as a cloud software, right? There are so much of cloud software there today, and it's easy to get an access to your user interface or your product, but it is difficult to do at the same level of it's now my competition. Yes, we've been in business for 4 years. They're trying to catch up all the time, but we are always ahead of them. And obviously we have a patent. There are companies who are violating those patents. Our patent has been violated, but it's the last thing we want to go after. We don't want to fight on the legal side. Yes, we have, but rather we are spending our energy on keep the bar higher, innovating new things. We come up with pretty much in every sprint we have something new to the market. Always what happens is that way we always put the competition as a catch-up game. They always try to catch up. They will never have an idea to innovate something. So that's what is happening today. We are the innovators. Most of the other vendors today are catching up what we are doing, if that makes sense.
So despite being the youngest, it's wonderful to know that RFPIO is the leader.
Correct. Yeah.
I have this question for an entrepreneur. At least in the initial stages, if you want to get off the ground, you need funding. Yeah. And I think since the company was founded, you have participated in about 3 rounds of funding. My question is not about how much funds you raised, but how did you approach funding, and what parameters were evaluated for funding? And we'll be very happy if you can share with us your first pitching experience and how you nailed your pitch and what you learned out of it.
Yeah. So, like you said, ma'am, there are 3 rounds of funding we did. Very seed stage. We did two seed stages at different levels, and then we did a Series A. Investors evaluate different what you call as KPIs, key performance indicator of a business at different levels. When you are taught at the seed stage, we went to, like I said, I approached high net worth individuals whom we call as an angel investor, who have their own pocket money to invest on the company. At that time, like I said, we only had a PowerPoint deck. We did not even have a product at that time, but we only had the team and the idea and an investor who can understand. We did not approach everybody. We did not approach everybody that we know has money. We did not. We were very strategic about it, and we approached only 2 individuals whom we thought would understand and appreciate the problem that we are solving. A lot of people have money. We were very clear. We didn't want to do we call this dumb money. People who put money add no value. What we did was we approached 2 individuals who knew what problem we are solving, and that's when we started off. And for them, it was very clear, because the problem that we are solving, it was resonating with them very clearly from the very get-go. So they did not have any issue. The second stage of seed round we went to a little more a professional investment company, smaller company. They invested, but at that time the KPI was, what is the product market fit? How many customers are we using? How many of them are actively using the product? That was the key criteria when we did the next round. And are those customers willing to be a reference when the investors call them and ask, hey, do you guys use RFPIO? Are they creating efficiency? Are they helping you to win deals? Are they creating, time saving? Are they helping you to save time? Can they talk? we had great customers who were willing to talk to those early stage small investors at that time. And third round, it was a completely different, KPIs. If anybody's interested, about SaaS, these are key, what we call it as, there are four or five key metrics they talk. First thing they talk about ARR. ARR stands for annual recurring revenue. What is your recurring revenue? So what happens if you stop business today, acquiring new customers, how much of recurring revenue this business can generate? That is the number one criteria that's they're looking for. The second is what they call it as, CAC, customer acquisition cost. To acquire a customer, how much dollar that you have to spend. That's another key KPI that they will measure. The third one is what they call it as net retention rate. The net retention rate is how much customer who signed up is continuing to sign, because these are annual contracts, these are monthly contracts, they have to renew it. I'm sure you all use some sort of subscription models. How much of those customers are repeatedly coming? How much of those customers are repeatedly paying? That is another key criteria investors look for. That's one other thing, net retention rate and growth rate. How have you grown as a business from year over year? Those are key elements people really look for investors. Even now, when we go to, if at all we want to do another round of funding, these are the key metrics. There are a lot of good numbers. I'm sure. I don't know if you all track the public stock market in the US. There is a great case study about a company called Snowflake. I don't know if you heard this company called Snowflake. They recently went public. It was one of the biggest public, listing IPO in history. In a technology company's history. So there's a great case study. Anybody who's interested to look how a cloud business, how the digital transformation, they should learn more about the IPO of this company called Snowflake. It's a great company to study, and it's a great model they've done. It is a fantastic business. Overnight, actually, Warren Buffett made $800 million just in one day. He invested the day before, and the next day he got out. He made $800 million in just one overnight in that company. So if anybody's interested to understand how these are, search for KPIs of SaaS companies. There are a lot of materials available in Google. So those would benefit, especially for MBA students who will eventually become product managers or business analysts, financial analysts. These are metrics that's going to help them know. And these are absolutely, I'm positive. Not a lot of, especially, not a lot of colleges teaches these things. Obviously it's not part of their curriculum. Knowing these basics of, if anybody is aspiring to become, working for a technology company, knowing these basic elements, right? Knowing these basic KPIs would give you guys an advantage over the others who are in the same pool as you guys are when you guys are going for a campus interview or recruitment. These are, information that would make you stand out of the crowd.
Thank you, Ganesh, for sharing that. Now, one more challenge that I hear from entrepreneurs is scaling. They generally say that scaling is even more daunting than launching a startup. So what kind of challenges you think are there in scaling your business?
Without a doubt, the most important or the biggest challenge any company would face is people. There is, as long as you have a very good product, customer acquisition is not a challenge, marketing is not a challenge, sales is not a challenge, but scaling people would be the challenge. End of the day, what is a business? Business is made of people. People are business. Unless you have the right people at the right time, you will not be able to scale. Yes, I'm just a simple example, right? When you think of this way, right? When I said we were very excited about hiring our first employee, The reason the first employee joined us because I, as a founder, was able to communicate the market, the passion, the reason why somebody has to join, all those excitement. I was able to communicate that, and they saw that right in front of them. They saw, okay, Ganesh is very passionate and great. I want to join this guy. Great, how much, if now we are about 170 employees, how can the 180th employee who joins and see the same passion? It's not practically humanly possible for me to go talk to everybody, right? To go talk to everybody and convince them what does the future look like, what is this all about, what is the problem that we are solving, how big the problem is. It's not practically possible for me. The only way that can be solved is hiring a Ganesh-like passionate team members who, when they are interviewing, they should replicate the same level of energy, same level of enthusiasm, same level of concept to the person whom we are now hiring. So it is the challenging piece, and it is not, it's not nothing about bad people. It's more like culturally there is not an alignment, right? A lot of times this is one, your priorities are different, their priorities are different. That is a disaster. That is a recipe for disaster, right? You have these many people, but not aligned on the same common vision. When they talk about common vision, I'm sure this is a management theory. Everybody talk about mission, vision statement. That's not what I'm talking. That's one element, but we do have what we call as corporate values, right? Our core values, but we came up with when we started this company after working for almost 4 years. Looking back, what are the cultural aspect? In fact, we have 5 values. I can go full day about talking about all these 5 values, but just to keep it short here, one of the values is, we call it as an S4. S4 stands for see something, say something. That is something I got it from an airport when I landed in the US for the first time in Seattle. This is probably after the 9/11 bombing. In every airport in Seattle, or not in the US, they announce on the PA, if you see an unattended package, say it. They don't want any unattended bags sitting on this floor for some time. They will say, if you see it, say it. Same idea. It kind of got stuck in my mind when we launched the company. We said, okay, anybody in the company, if they see anything is not aligned, even if, let's assume, if somebody is going into this pantry and they did not find a tissue paper, don't assume somebody will take care of it. You see it and say it. The manager or the office admin will take care of it. Don't assume this is office admin's responsibility to take care of it. So that is one value. The second value is, we call this GBT. GBT stands for give back time. Now, how can I give back time for everybody in the company, not just customers? Obviously, technology products will give back time. That's something we want to even be mindful of. My colleagues, my peers, my partners, everybody. How can I give back time? The third value is what we call it as BAN. BAN stands for be agile and nimble. How can we be, no matter how big we get, we want to be always agile and nimble, because that's what got us here. We should never forget that. And the fourth value is, GID. GID stands for get it done. We are very quick. We are super fast in delivering to market, to addressing customer needs, to get it done. We don't like to slack. We don't like to delay things. That's the mindset. We are super fast. For some people, it may not work out. That they may not. Nothing wrong in that. So they are methodical. They are very process oriented. They like to think through that. That is a different kind of people. We need somebody who are quick, who launches fast and iterate fast. That's the fourth value. And the fifth value is, we call it as a DMC. DMC stands for don't mess with customer. No matter what the customer is, don't mess with them. Just be calm, and that's the attitude. We don't need to be defensive. We don't need to show our face if the customer's mad. So just be calm. Those are values. If there is no alignment in those values, because entire company from top to bottom, we are believing these 5 values. If somebody is joining us, if they are not believing in those values, if there is no alignment, that is, like I said, it's a recipe for disaster, right? They did not believe in this process. If you don't believe in something, your work gets a 9 to 5 thing. There is no passion. There is no energy outside of your paycheck that has been given to that, right? Those are things we always constantly see. Obviously, we are not, superhumans to go into somebody's brain and analyze it and make sure there's a match. We are human as everybody else, so we do mistakes. We are not perfect in every aspect, so that is the challenge. You talk about scaling people is the biggest challenge for any company, and finding the right team members, right, finding the right partners, finding the right folks who can take the same level of enthusiasm to the next level, no matter how big we are getting. So that's the biggest challenge companies would face.
Yeah, usually they say a company's culture is a reflection of the founder's personality. From the kind of values that you spoke, I can understand what kind of a culture you would have set for your company. And one more thing I wanted to ask is, for products like yours, you will have to keep developing many versions of your product. I mean, if you have to sustain in the long term. So in the last couple of years, have you made any improvements, or are you currently pursuing any improvements to your product? Or is it a
Like I
part
said,
of, yeah.
Yeah, we are an agile company. What it means is we constantly evolve. Uh, when I say S4, like I talked about S4, right? S4 stands for see something. A good example is my sales team. When they go do a demo of the current product to a customer, and the customer says, "Hey, we saw a competing product. We saw another product, and there was a feature like this." So the sales team saw it from the prospect, and they have to say it to my product team. So we even have a very active email ID called s4@rfpio.com. It is always there is something or the other people will put on that, from everything. Most importantly, product ideas, and we have that. And one more thing I think it was something which worked out in our favor, right? When you log into RFPIO, our application, when you log into our software, at the bottom of the screen, what we have is something called submit ideas. I don't think any of our competition is even doing that. As a user, when you click on that, there will be a form, and you can submit an idea. Hey, I think I need this feature. This is an enhancement request. What happens is that gets submitted. My product team gets alerted. That is one piece. But if another user from another country, from another company comes into the platform and clicks at submit an idea, they will be able to see that. And they will be able to we call it as an upvote. They can say, okay, this feature that somebody else, they don't even know who each other are. They can say, yes, this feature is something I can use it. They can upvote on it. And, we now have, like I said, we have over 120,000 users on the platform, which means one user putting an idea, all 120,000 users can see that, and they can say, yes, I need this, I need this, I need this. So we prioritize enhancements and product improvements based on that is one bucket. We always look for, again, going back, we follow agile, but even in that agile methodology, we kind of, in every release,
So I think Sir has bandwidth issues.
Yeah, it got stuck.
He told at times maybe there will be some issue in the
Something wrong at his end?
Yes, sir.
He's joining back.
He's joining back.
Right.
Towards the beginning, probably we may have some issues in it.
Okay. Yeah, he has come back.
Yeah, sorry, my internet got disconnected for a minute.
Yeah, Ganesh, please.
So we bucket three when we plan product release. We categorize into three buckets. one bucket we call it as MVF, minimum viable feature. These are features that are constantly being asked by our customers, and they expect us. And the other one is, the other bucket is what we call the neutralizers. When I say neutralizer, when a competition have a similar feature, we come up with feature to neutralize the competition. The other one is, differentiators. How can it differentiate from the market, rest of the crowd? So always we constantly think about these features when we plan a product release. And that's a good thing about SaaS software as compared to olden day software. Is you like you said, there are a lot of releases, but SaaS is always a one release. So it's kind of continuous improvement on the same product. You never, if you are using Gmail, you don't know when they're releasing it. It just automatically gets updated. You won't even realize there was update going on. So, but from day one to now, you are seeing so many changes on Gmail, right? That's the beauty of cloud. It is centrally managed, and they can push it, and everybody can able to see that change, simultaneously. And we don't, we call it as a versionless software. Ours is a versionless software.
Thank you. So, what do you think the future holds for Ganesh and for his company?
I think again, when we look at business, again, I do have examples for all these things. In our mind, these things are always constantly being thinking. We see businesses are of three kinds of businesses, right? One is what we call it as, a lifestyle business. When lifestyle businesses are, you create a company, you go to a certain extent, and the founders are happy, the key executives are happy at that level, customers are really happy, but the company is not aggressive enough to go after something new. They are very happy at that level. They don't have any aspiration to go beyond that. They are happy, and they have very loyal customers, and they are happy with that. That's a lifestyle business. The second kind of business is called this, I call it as quick flip business. You put in a lot of money, you don't care how much you are spending. All you care about grow. You spend $2 to grow $1, so you spend a lot of money and grow to an extent, and then you sell the company and move on. That's another business. The third kind of business is what we call as a generational business, right? Companies like Salesforce, companies like Microsoft, some companies like Zoho in India. So these are companies I call it as a generational business. People who started off is there, but next generation of people are driving those companies today, not the founders. It is still maintains the originality, but still growing at a rapid pace. They explore a new market. They are going after bigger markets. So if I have a magic wand, if I have the power to finalize our destiny, we wanted to create a generational business. We wanted to. Great example is we want to create this business where we would like to call ourselves as an employee of this business at one point. Yes, we are the founders, but we can. I'll be very happy if I'm saying I was an employee of this company at one point of time. So that's what we are hoping for to create. I think there is a market for us. There is a massive market that we can go after. So we are trying to create a generational business here.
Good luck on that. Just a couple of personal questions, and then we'll open it up for questions from students.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah.
How many hours do you work on an average?
It's tough question because it's constantly going thing. Again, they call it as work-life balance. When you start a company, I think you will lose some sleep on it. You will lose some personal time on it. I will be lying if I'm saying, oh no, I'm perfectly managing my wife and perfectly managing my kids. I'll be lying. So I would not be just justifying their feelings. Let me put it that way. It's not easy, but I know what I signed up for, and you know what you're getting into. That level of mindset is what got us here. I'm grateful for that mindset, but obviously along the way you have to compromise, you have to sacrifice some of those things. Not to get into the details of it, but it does take a punch at your gut on you when it comes to your personal life and your health. And obviously, if you're not careful enough, it could be dangerous too. A lot of stress could come in. So I try to enjoy whatever small moments I get. I work out pretty much almost daily. I don't do yoga or meditation. I'm not that level yet, but I know I have 2 young kids. Even if I get 10 minutes, I think I feel fortunate to spend time with them. And I have an amazing wife who is very understandable. So I think I'm blessed with that. So all those things comes into play. Working, pretty much 24/7 is what you signed up for.
Okay, Ganesh, how do you use social media?
That's a great question. I'm a less of a social media person. In fact, I opened my Facebook account only in 2015. I did not even have a Facebook account until then. Today, for the most part, I use my Facebook and I'm big on LinkedIn now because again that goes back to my passion towards building a business. A lot of my updates on social media, but it is key. If you're not on social, especially if you're being a business entrepreneur, you're missing a huge portion. So that's why I'm on social. So I'm less of a personal social. I don't do a lot of I'm not on Instagram or I'm not on all those things, but I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. But most of my updates are only about company because I think you have to be there. If you're running a company, your company needs to talk in social. I think for that matter, I'm talking, but otherwise, personally, I'm not a social media person.
Okay, Ganesh, one last question. Tell us about people who impacted you in campus and in the corporate.
Obviously, Dr. Premanand had, one statement I think I still remember, when everybody talks about, he was talking about, still it had a huge impact on me. His words were, we were talking about what is best thing. Is it hard work or smart work? We were talking about what is the differentiator. And I think he said, he asked all of us, hey, what do you guys think about whether hard work is better or smart work is better? And everybody said hard work, smart work, and he said, if hard work is the criteria, we all have to worship donkey, because donkey is the most hardworking animal, when we talk about literally on the field, and we don't respect donkey as much. So it's a combination of hard work and smart work, and I think it kind of had an impact on me. It kind of gave me some more level of clarity at that time. So and obviously, if you have to pick one person, Dr. Premanand had an impact on personally. So, and outside of that, my dad, who was, who could not start an entrepreneurship journey, at least I was able to fulfill his dream of becoming a businessman. I think that, and my wife, like I said, we know each other almost 10 years before we got married, and a lot of sacrifices she has done personally, taking care of family, taking care of kids. So she always amazes me. And now my 2 kids have a huge impact in my life, and my employees, but these are people who have impacted.
Thank you so much, Ganesh, for making time to be with us and answering all the questions. We'll open up for questions from the students. And let me tell you, we will not, at BJV, we will not miss the opportunity to celebrate your successes as you reach, new milestones. Good luck, Ganesh. We'll open up for questions from the audience.
Sure.
Students.
Ganesh, great listening to you. lot of insights on entrepreneurship. Of course, it's good to note that you touched upon issues like networking, the importance of networking, as well the ability to question more. Of course, this is what we have been emphasizing all along. Okay, and of course, it has come from the horse mouth. So probably people may be listening to your words. The most striking point is the value system which you create in your own company, like S4 kind of firm. So quite laudable efforts. I'm sure you are going to see great heights in your life, in your entrepreneurship career. We wish you very, very all the best, and we are keeping the things open for the students.
Students and participants, you all have access to interact with our speaker for the day. Please unmute yourself and you can come in.
Sir,
Hi, Ganesh.
Yeah, Ranjit,
Please go ahead.
sir, good morning, sir. Sir, I'm Ranjit from second MBA. Sir, it was a nice session. And my question is, what are the challenges your company faced during the COVID period? And then how do you manage?
Yeah, so again, the challenges are not unique to us. Nobody anticipated a world like this, right? In January of 2020, nobody anticipated a world like this, working remote. We were fortunate enough for the most part because we are a technology company. We already were not dependent on people being in one place. We are not fortunately I feel really bad for restaurants and physical present people, dependent businesses, but fortunately we were able to manage dispersed team, remote teams. And then the challenges, if you look at it, right, a lot. Initially, employees were okay to do it from home, especially in the US, it was okay. Even it was a challenge where in India, where homes are not really conducive for, work from home setup, there's a lot of traffic in place, especially if you're a client facing team, traffic, there is a lot of disturbance happens, and, that's how we are. Our setup is for the most part. So how did we overcome some of the challenges? Obviously we gave some of them, headphones, noise cancellation headphones. We recently gave pretty much for the entire company. We gave ergonomic chairs to sit from home, and then we said, we only work for 4.5 days. Pretty much, we said Fridays half a day. We made it mandatory, no meetings, nothing need to be scheduled after 1 o'clock. It's only 4.5 days. So employee well-being has been a key criteria for us, and we are now organizing, I think in next couple of weeks, we are organizing a session with a doctor to talk about, the COVID. So we are trying to have a session with the doctor so that our employees can ask questions, those things. And again, one thing we did is we kind of kept things very transparent. We gave the confidence, because a lot of times what happened is there are a lot of anxiety. People thought, are we going to have the job? Are this company going to keep our jobs still? Because not every day there is news talking about people losing their job, companies are losing businesses. One thing we did, we kind of kept things transparent. We did not promise that we will not send anybody home. What we did is made it very clear. At the moment, we were, the management did not spend a minute on discussing on cost cutting. We were always thinking about growing the business. So that way, we said, we have this weekly meetings. It used to be weekly. Now we made it to 3 weeks once. When I went into the meeting, I said, I cannot predict the future, what it's going to look like, but I can tell what is happening now. We are not discussing about cost-cutting methodologies. I gave that as an open statement. That gave a lot of confidence for employees. Okay, this company is not going to send me home. And if there is anything in that plan, they're going to let me know. They're going to give me enough heads up on that. We made it very clear, but we did not. We even had an appraisal process. We increased the salaries last September for pretty much all of them. So a lot of positive things happen. So those are challenges we always have, but we kind of overcoming, I should say. We're not, with multiple ways. It's not one straightforward answer. This is the way we did it, but it is more like, taking care of employee health, being transparent, giving the confidence. Okay, we are there for them when the time is not great. So that all those things put together is helping us today.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I am Lokeshwaran from second MBA at DJME. It was nice to hearing you, sir. And I also like to congratulate you for the achievements and you have done, and also for your team. I have two questions, sir. As you talk about fundraising, it is not easy to raise the fund. But another thing, after raising the fund, it is not also easy for allocating the fund appropriately which we raise. So how did you manage your funds after raising it effectively, sir?
See, it depends on, different companies need funds for different things. They're at a very high level. If you're talking about a company, there is a engineering or product and engineering element of it. There's a sales and marketing element of it. There's an operations element of it, right? These are, broadly you can break it down into every department can. So when you get on our money, so what is that thing that's going to give you most ROI? Are you going to invest in the product and which gives you competitive advantage so that you can go sell more? Or you already have a great product, you need to invest on sales and marketing so you can hire more people who can sell the product. Or you already have a great product, you already have few sales folks who are really selling it really good. You need operational excellence. Depending on each company, right? If you are talking about what that is, if you're a very young startup who did not have a product, you better spend on the product, building the product. If you have a product and you don't have a sales and marketing engine properly working, you invest there. All the things are there, but you need an operational team who can make sure, the HR teams, the finance team, who can make sure this fort is staying stronger by a strong basement. You need an operational team. So depending on that, it depends on the company stage also, right? We said, we raised funds at 3 different phases. So at each phase, we allocated funds at different levers, you call this. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. The second question is that the most of the startups which have started is not all end up in success stories. Most of them failed. So what are the things you think that it is the main reason for failing of startups, or what are the bottlenecks is the reason for their failures?
Yeah. So like I started off with, right, one biggest failure I would, and one of our investors said, the one of the main reasons companies fail, startups fail not because of starvation, because of indigestion. You take up a lot of things where you cannot digest. Startups don't fail because of starvation, right? They fail because of indigestion. So that's one. Also, like I started off this B2C, a lot of people come up with a product, they come up with an idea because they had that problem and assume everyone else have the same problem. That's when they fail. Others may not have the problem. Their problems are different. Not validating the product, that's another recipe for failure. And the third and most important, I feel like, if you don't have the right team members, the right team, every investor, every company, what they call it as a pivot. You start off an idea, and investors know if it is not going beyond certain things, companies pivot. They change the ideas into something else. Even if you look at Facebook, they started as a campus product and they pivoted into opening it up to others. They pivoted in the same angle. There are companies who started with XYZ, but they ended up in ABC, completely different product today. But that's the pivot that they had. That is possible only when you have the right team members behind the idea or behind the startup. If you don't have right team members, if for example, given you example, right, between when we started this company, and not to brag, between three of us, I'm the youngest. My other two co-founders, they had a lot of experience, a lot of maturity, and they're almost 10 years, older than I did. We all decided, they had the maturity to make me as a CEO. They did not had any possessiveness or any ego saying, okay, I got to be the CEO. That level of maturity between the co-founders, between the team, and that is important. That level of respect is important. If you don't have that level of things, it's another reason for startup fail, because there is an egoistic foundation team. They fight with each other, and that did not go well. So those are, like I said, taking up so much that they cannot continue to work on, not enough product market fit, having an imbalanced team. Those are some of the reasons why startups fail.
Sir, and I also like to add one more question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that you don't have any final product before you raise the fund of $10,000. You have only presentations. So it is tough to validate our product will be work or not without the final product. So how did you validate our product before entering?
Right. Yeah. So that's what I said. We did not start the company right out of college. We did not start the company right out of something out of vacuum. We started this product out of a necessity, and we validated that product with others with the PowerPoint deck. And we approached, like I specifically said, we did not approach anybody who has money. We approached investors who know the problem that we solved, and they appreciated it. And that's where, we had other contacts who had money, a lot of money. We could have gone to them, and then it would have been a bigger, tough task for me to explain what the problem is, why they have to invest, all those things I have to do, spend a lot of energy, and they may not even invest in our business at the end of the day because they did not see any traction. Whereas we were very strategic about only picking these two individuals who know what this an RFP is, who have done this themselves, and they know what problem we are solving. That's where we approach them. Those are the investors who invested in our business at the very initial stage. We did not go after everybody who can invest our money. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, I am Beaverton, sir, from second MBA. Thanks for your valuable time, sir. My question is, after commencing the startup, how to network our own brand or product digitally, sir?
There are a couple of questions here. How do you network? How do you go to so network? When I talk about network, what I mean by network is go attend these peer groups, or there is TIE, Technology Industry Entrepreneur Network, or again, you may not get something out of every meeting, but you will get something out of some meeting, and those are the small tidbits that would help you on a longer run. You don't go with an expectation every meeting that you will get something out of it. So there is always, try to attend those industry events. Try to attend some of those events are obviously are just for fun. People come talk something completely not related to the topic. Again, those things will happen, but try to attend as much as you can and see and pick those key things that would benefit you, and constantly think about those things. And second one is how do you digitally go after it, right? Again, this is one of my experience when I pitched, when ma'am was asking how did you do the pitching, right? When I was pitching, one of the investors said, you got to be in front of your customer. You got to be there where your customers are looking for. And I said, oh yeah, if I know where my customers are looking for, then that's an easy thing. I will be there. But when I came home, it kind of struck me. It was in a network meeting. That was a tidbit. And he was casually saying, hey, you have to be there where your customers are looking for. When I came home, it kind of struck me, where is our customers are looking for? what I did was on that night I Google searched RFP software. And I realized no companies were coming on front page. That's the natural place for somebody to search for an RFP software. Again, not everybody is going to search for RFP software. On that, for example, I'm talking about if we're all familiar with LMW. LMW people who are buying from LMW may not search in Google. They talk about network if they know they are in trade shows. They get word of mouth. So that's a different kind of business model. For us, it's kind of different model. So you have to understand where your customers are. For us, it was very, very evident from the get-go. We got to be there on Google. We got to be there on certain digital platforms. That's where our customers were looking for. Identifying that depends on product to product. It varies. If your product is technology product, and if it is with a certain budget, then it makes it sense to be on Google. If you're talking about $1 million deals, it's a completely different strategy that you have to follow. And if you're talking about a freemium model, that's a completely different strategy. So it's a pretty long winded answer, but depends on company to company, product to product, market to market, if that makes sense.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So looks like there was a question about product companies and services companies. I will give you that in a very high level.
That question is from Professor S.T. Nambi, sir.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. So sure. So product and services. I'm a big product person. I'm not a big services. Again, no harm, no good or bad one or the other way. But this is my theory, and you can validate. If you look at some of the world's largest companies, they are product companies. There are only one or two services companies that are that scale. Infosys and TCS maybe to an extent, but how many? There is Google is a product company, Facebook is a product company, Microsoft is a product company, Boeing is a product company. All these big companies that, even Fortune, if you look at Fortune 10 companies, pretty much all of them are product. Walmart is a product company. All those companies are product-driven companies. And the benefit of being in a product-driven company is you control your destiny. You will determine. How many of us can go tell Microsoft to change this button on Microsoft Word? No one can tell. But a customer can tell this, no matter how big or small that is, they can tell that to Infosys to change my button to this thing to this thing. That's the difference. A product company can control it as long as, Apple, can you tell Apple to change this button to this? No way. No one can, any of us can tell that, because they drive their roadmap. They drive their destiny. They control their release. Whereas if you're services, you're always on the mercy of the customer. You're always on the, I'm sure everybody is on the mercy of customer, but service is even more dependent on customer. There are a lot of, service goes into play to make sure the customers are happy, and, a lot of relationship angle goes into play. But whereas product companies are much more creative, much more innovative compared to services company. That's my theory. And again, take it with a grain of salt. It is my view. It is not everybody's view. This is my view. And I obviously I'm a product guy, so I would favor product.
Ganesh, yeah. Ganesh, it's me. Yeah. Ganesh, you were talking about the mindset of the students to always go for a secured income job. Of course, as you rightly pointed out, still the saying is quite relevant. Okay, Kalana kasnalu government kasu, Arena kasnalu arasanga kasu. That saying still relevant in some parts of the country. And of course, if you look at the engineering graduates or the MBA graduates who are venturing into entrepreneurship, statistics says it's hardly 2 to 3% of the students jumping into entrepreneurship. All the rest of the students, again, with that mindset of having a secured income to begin with, they always look for a job in the corporate world. Again, this pandemic situation has added more fuel to that propensity to go for a secured income kind of. How is the scenario among students in Western countries?
So it's no different. It is, I think it is the mindset. Now I don't think it is wrong on being on a secure job, and nothing wrong. People are happy. Some people, that's their style. That's their, they don't want to take risks. It doesn't mean that that's wrong. They want to be more family oriented. Like I said, somebody was not willing to compromise on the time that I'm spending on generating business. They don't like that kind of mindset. They like 9 to 5. Out of the office, they spend time with their family. Out of their office, they're happy. They don't care until they don't think about work until they go to the work next day, right? That's they're happy about it, and that's totally fine. There are other breeds of people who want to take risk and who want to explore, who want to fail, all those uh, risk-taking abilities are part of another breed of human beings, I would say, right? Nothing wrong in either ways. That is perfectly all right. If it is not in you, don't force yourself. Don't get pressured. To saying, okay, if somebody is starting a business, you can be very successful. In being an employee, you can be very happy. I don't think so. You'll be happy. Being an entrepreneur. It's always greener on the other side. But being an employee, you can be very happy. You can live a peaceful life. You can be very, very risk-free, no mental pressure. That's the healthiest life anybody could ask for. And then it has its own benefits. Being an entrepreneur, you have the satisfaction of giving jobs to others. You can see, making money is a different thing. I'm not even counting money making thing. The satisfaction or the gratitude or the impact that you're making on society is another feeling. Again, depending on what your mindset is. It is not just in India or Western countries. It's the same. I have situations. Even we have people who doesn't want to even become a manager. It is a big portion of just to give you an example, right? If you're a manager, you have to do a lot of difficult talking. You have to you have to handle conflict. You have to have you have to handle negative feedbacks. If as a team manager. So I've had situations where my colleagues, they literally said they don't want to be a manager. They want to be an individual contributor. They want to be a principal. When I say principal, they contribute individually. They don't even want to talk about, when you grow in your managing role, you have to talk about compensation. You have to talk about your performance appraisal. They don't want to talk about somebody's performance, somebody's, salary. That's not their cup of tea. They feel really, bad. Nothing wrong in that. They said we are comfortably okay to do all individually. I'm going to perform my individual task, and I'm happy about it. And there is a career path for them. There are an architect, there's a principal, there's a senior principal. It goes on the way. So there are, depends on your mindset. If you're good at managing people, that is one mindset I kind of got changed when I used to be in India versus coming to the US. In India, people feel as you grow in your career, managing people makes you, respectable. We feel that is a way of thing. That's a different mindset I've seen here. Doesn't matter you manage or not. What you contribute makes a key role. No matter if once you go out the office or even inside the office, it is not like that level of respect is not the right word, but it is not like that hierarchical things they follow. Even in the office, even if you're a manager, there is not a great level of hierarchical respect. It is a mutual human being respect you will always get. It is a mutual respect of your contribution you will get, not because you are my boss you get a respect, not that at all. That's a different mindset I've seen here. They respect you as a human being, they respect you as an individual, they respect you as a contributor, and we are all working for a common goal, they know. But it depends on your mindset to answer your question. If you want to become an entrepreneur, if you want to become an individual contributor, if you want to be a manager, it all depends on how comfortable you are. Don't force yourself something because of others are doing. Even funding, I want to say this thing too. Somebody was asking about funding. There is a lot of noise. When I say noise, a lot of news that you guys are reading today. This company raised this much of funding. Flipkart raised this much of funding. Reliance raised this much of funding. Don't get carried away by those newses. A lot of companies do that. There's so much of behind the work happen. When I say behind the work, a lot of effort goes into play. But the best thing that could happen, look at Zoho. Zoho as an example. They did not raise funds. They are one of the most respectable companies in the world, not even in India, in the world. They are bootstrapped. They've never dependent on investors. They were able to sustain a business on their own. If I were to do this business again, I will fight until my last minute to create a business through bootstrap, not through investors. And there is nothing wrong in doing that. My investors are one of the best investors that I could ask for. But again, having investors have a different dynamics, whereas having your own company without funding outside has a different dynamics altogether. So that is, don't get carried away. If you get funding, it's great. If you don't get funding, doesn't mean that you're doing something bad or you're not worth of it though. So creating a bootstrap business is the best thing that could happen for an entrepreneur.
Any plans to go for an IPO in the near future?
Again, it's a long shot, sir. These days, companies, especially if you have to go for an IPO in the US market, we are looking at about a minimum of a turnover of more than 6,000 crores.
Okay.
Anywhere north of 100 million is what you can even discuss about an IPO. If again, like I said, if I have a magic wand, I would take that. Obviously, we have got money from investors. We are dependent on so many factors. So I don't know that. But if I can make a decision, yes, then I can see us doing something like that in a few years. I know 4 to 5 years down the line. But I cannot predict the future at this point of time.
Great, Ganesh.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Narendra.
I am Narendra Prasad, sir, and thanks for giving a wonderful section. And my question is, what would you say the skills which are needed to be a successful entrepreneur, sir?
So to be a successful entrepreneur, again, I'm not a successful entrepreneur. Don't get me wrong. I'm just into this entrepreneurship 5 years into this business. So there are others who have done this many times. Take it with a grain of salt. I feel like constant learning is a key element. Also success is always a moving target. What is success for you means nothing to me. What is success to me means nothing to you. So it's a constantly moving target. At different levels, you will find success at a different thing. But few common elements. A great leader, I would not call it successful leader. Great leaders or great personalities had was they are really hardworking plus smart workers. They push the boundaries. They don't settle for mediocre. They push the boundaries further beyond what a normal a Joe can think of. They think that. Second key element I've seen is they're being very empathetic. They are respectful. They are very trustworthy. They they don't like to do something with an ill intention. With ill intention could work in a short term, but at a longer run, if you look at it, may not work out. So trustworthiness, empathetic about your colleagues, your peers, your managers. Those are trust is another key factor, plays into a role. Take it with a grain of salt. That's what I would say. My theory is be transparent, be trustworthy, and constantly learn from what you're hearing. Those are key things I've marked myself of doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yep. So is that only boys club here? No girls can ask any question. Is that what it is?
Students, come forward. Shanmugapriya, Asha, Anu, Manjari, you all are there. Come forward.
So there's another question. As you are aware, we at B School emphasize a lot on communication skill. Out of curiosity, I'm asking this: how long does it take an Indian to develop a typical American accent? To be honest, I still remember back when in my first year, when Dr. Premanand asked a question in English, I could not answer it back in English. So don't worry about, yes, it is key. Communication is key. Clear communication is different from fluently speaking English. A lot of people can fluently speak in English. That doesn't mean they're communicating properly. You have to have the ability to communicate. My background, I did not do throughout my from the from my LKG to my 12th standard, I was in a state board. And you say state board, for the most part, pretty much they teach in, yes, it was an English medium state board, but pretty much they teach in Tamil, and that's what I've been. I was not even in a matriculation school, let alone CBSE or whatever different things that are there. Even if you look at me, it's okay. I would even not do my co-founder Sundar. It's even more compelling story. If he's on phone, he's completely from the schooling from LKG to finish. Is always in Tamil medium. If he's on phone, nobody can believe he is from India. His accent is, again, the learnings and the interest is key. But having accent is not going to change the game. Look at, I'm sure you all know Eric Yuan, right? Have you heard about him? So Eric is the CEO of Zoom that we are doing now. Just listen to his speech. He was from China. I was amazed, how a leader of this scale, how is he communicating? There is an accent. You can clearly see it is not an American accent at all. There is no British accent at all. It is completely, there is an accent. Nothing wrong or bad. But listen to his speech. He is running, a massive, almost $70 billion company today. Look at this. The thing is, he's very articulative, very communicative. When I say communicate, it's very clear. You can take your time. You don't need to rush. Fluency doesn't mean that you speak English continuously without other thing. You can be very crisper. Even if you are choosing few words, try to communicate the point very clearly. But take your time. Especially in a corporate world, people would appreciate it. People would understand. You don't need to rush. Don't feel shy. This will naturally come. But unless you try it, you won't be able to overcome it. Like I said, the person sitting in front of me back in my first year, she said, why Premanand sir is asking this question again? He want you to answer in English, because I could not even finish my answer in English. That's how bad I was. So but that was also a turning moment for me. I felt really bad going home that I could not even complete a sentence in a proper English on that day. So even I still have that girl, Swarna. She is in California now. We are recently talking about that. She was telling, why Raymond sir was asking the same question over and over again to you, because he wanted you to talk in English. So we were jokingly talking, but communication is key. But that doesn't mean fluent English is the thing. So clear, crisper communication, effective communication is what you all need.
Thank you, Ganesh. It was a pleasure hosting you. Thank you for spending almost 2 hours with the students. As I told you in the beginning, it's only with the alumni we can take the liberty to ask any question we want. And these 2 years was great. We had so much learning. I'm sure a lot of people here aspiring to become entrepreneurs will have a lot of takeaways from this particular session. Thank you once again. Thank you so much, Ganesh.
Thanks, ma'am. It's an honor. Like I said, I don't take this invitation lightly. It is one of my proudest moments, and even getting the EY was not a proudest moment. I would say, giving back to my college is the proudest moment. Yesterday, out of the blue, my school teacher, my third grade teacher called me. It was completely random. She called me. Those are the things that I can cherish. I think those are things, talking to Savitri ma'am after a long time, and talking to the students. Somebody gave it to me. It's my time to give it back. That's how I feel. Happy to give whatever I can. Obviously, I do have only 24 hours in my day. I have to spend on my time on my business. But wherever I can help, feel free to pick my brain, and I'm happy to help anybody needs some help. But in my limited capacity, so I'm really fortunate to be associated with the academy. So much, you guys are doing wonderful. So don't get scared. Yes, the world is wild. So don't get scared. We are humans. We always fight for each other, and we always come through it. So everybody, as long as we have the right intent, as long as we have the right mindset, as long as we don't try to do something bad for others, things will happen, things will align. Yes, it is always going to be a challenge. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be easy. So we have to struggle, but at the end of the day, we will overcome it.
Many thanks, Ganesh. We are all proud of you, and we wish you many more milestones in your entrepreneurial journey. And we are also looking forward to your physical visit when you visit Coimbatore next.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you, folks. Yeah.